Here is kind of the situation in the labor world. You have employees, the gray, and you have the manager in blue. And usually, we think that the tools of the managers are carrots, right? These are salaries, maybe big carrots are even better. And the second tool that we have as managers are sticks, poking the poor the poor employee. So, so when we think about motivation, we have what we call extrinsic motivation. We have carrots and sticks. We have schedules and deadlines and salaries and bonuses. And on the side of the intrinsic motivation, we would have something like love or care or autonomy and mastery and purpose. And another way to view extrinsic and intrinsic motivation is to think about as market forces and social forces. That in the market forces, we pay people money, and that's what gets them to motivate. In the social world, we use other elements. And the trick is that those are not, again, not the same, and sometimes the social can either overwhelm it. So let me quickly describe to you a couple of experiments. So imagine you were a participant in a study, and imagine that what I did was I gave you this screen, and there was a circle on the left and a square on the right, and your task was to drag the circle on the square. And you dragged it, and the moment you dragged it, it disappeared, and a new one appeared. And again, it disappeared, and a new one appeared. And I just measured how much work you did for about 5 or 10 minutes in which I asked you. And then imagine that I paid you one of three amounts. I either paid you nothing, I paid you a low amount, or I pay you a high amount. Now, what would happen when I pay you more? It turns out that when I pay you nothing, people work quite hard. When I pay you a low amount, people work less hard. This is basically you are working less hard to help me change my tire if I offer you a little bit of money. And if we get people to pay lots of money, they work hard again. Okay, all that is good. That's kind of basically what we would expect based on the story of changing the tire, and that's what we see in the experiments. But now let's think about what we as human beings do. How do we actually interact in the social domain? So imagine, for example, that you came to my house for dinner. And imagine that you were thinking about showing your gratitude in some way, and you were deciding to spend $40 on a bottle of wine. Now, the reality is that you buying me a bottle of wine is really inefficient. You don't know what wine I like. You don't know if I prefer red or white or what variety. You don't know if I prefer something else, right? You just don't know what I like. So the reality is that you might spend $40 on a gift, and I would get only $20 out of utility out of it, because you just don't know what's good for me. So what's the rational thing to do? The rational thing to do is for you to come to me and say, Dan, thank you very much for inviting me for dinner. Realizing that I don't know what you like the most, I decided to give you cash instead. And you, my dear host, should go and do the best thing that you could do in terms of a marginal utility of money for you. Now, that's, of course, ridiculous, and nobody will think about doing it. But let's think about why. And the reason is that we all understand intuitively that if we gave people cash, in no way will it improve our relationship. True, it's a more efficient, it's more financially efficient gift, but it's not a socially efficient gift. And because of that, we can give people more money, but it doesn't help to strengthen the relationship. So let's think about this gift. What the idea is that gifts behave dramatically different than money. So we decided to do the same experiments with gift. We gave people either a small gift, a small piece of chocolate. And what happened now? People worked really hard. And then we gave them a big chocolate, and people worked just the same. What it means is that in the world of social exchange, the moment we don't have this financial exchange, people are happy to work hard all the time. Now let's think about how this would look like in the world of labor. Imagine that you worked for me, and I was going to either send you to a week to the Bahamas, or I was going to give you cash for $1,000. And the first question is, what would you prefer? What would you think is a more efficient use of money? And most likely you prefer the cash. And to a large extent you could be right. It's a more efficient gift. You could decide to go to the North Carolina shore for 3 days and buy an iPod, and this might be better suited for you than going to the Bahamas, which you don't like so much. But that's of course not the reason I'm giving you money. The reason I'm paying you money is not so much to get you to maximize the value of your uh, spending. I'm giving you a gift because I want you to care about the workplace. So let's think about what the outcome from that perspective is. Imagine that it's a week after you either got the bonus or it's a week after you just got the gift. And now the question is, what will happen now? Under which of those conditions would you feel more connected to the workplace? Imagine, for example, it's been 2 weeks since the bonus or 2 weeks since the gift, and I ask you if you would stay late one night and help me with some important deadline. What will happen now? Which one of those two will actually be more likely to get you to stay? And the answer is very simple. It's not the cash. The cash is very effective, it's very efficient. If I worried about your exact spending pattern, it would work very well. But for me, as a person who wants to motivate you to care about me, either as a friend or either as a workplace, the social gift is much more efficient. It gets a little even kind of more interesting when we ask ourselves what happened when we give both. So imagine that I give you a gift, but I tell you how much it cost. And the way you can imagine it is that you come to my house and you give me a bottle of wine, but you tell me exactly how much you spend on it. And now the question is, what will happen? Will giving people the chocolate but telling them how much it cost, here's a 10-cent candy bar, here's a $5 Godiva chocolate box, will that work like money, which was mentioned, or will it work like the gift that was given? And the answer is that it works much like the much like the money. Giving a gift and telling people how much it costs is counterproductive. But in fact, that's a lot of what people are doing these days. If you've noticed, more and more companies these days are moving to telling people exactly how much money they spend on the healthcare and benefits. And that's exactly doing something in the social domain, but putting a money label on it. Now, why is this a bad idea? Because if you think about what really motivates people, right? If I wanted you to really care about me, about my work, is the right way to pay you like a 9 to 5 salary, or to pay you by the word you produce, or to pay you by the number of PowerPoint slides that you create? No, the reality is that our work hours are only a small part of the time that we're creative. In fact, during the work hour, we're mostly busy in meetings and answering email and so on. And often the creative, useful hours are after work or on the weekend when we have some more time and quiet to think and concentrate. And if I want that, if I want to get your heart and soul and your passion and caring, and I want you to get deeply engaged into what you're doing, I can't actually be in the financial market. I need to be in the social market. I need to be a part of your life, a part of your identity and caring and so on. And what do companies do to accomplish that? What do companies do to get out of the market norm and into the social norm? One thing companies do is that they stop paying people hourly. We pay people monthly. The other thing is that we pay people to do all kinds of things that are not clear if they are work or pleasure. We send people on vacation, we pay them for lunch, we do all kinds of things for their enrichment and education. But one important factor of these are the benefits, healthcare benefits. It's basically a promise that says that if something goes wrong, your company will be there to take care of you. And what do you do when you put a price on it? You basically move it away from the social world into the financial world. And when you do it, you basically discount it. Because now, you know what? I see your salary. I see exactly what you're paying me. I see exactly how much I'm costing you. And if somebody else offers me 10 more cents, I'll move to them. Because there's nothing to it but a number. And that's all there is to the relationship, which I think is bad for everybody. It's bad for the employee. It's bad for the employer. It's kind of amazing how much pride and care we can create in our work. But we need the right conditions for that to happen.